Earlier, Khenpo shared profound Dharma teachings with all our teachers and students. As a teacher at this school, I would like to express our deep gratitude on behalf of all the teachers and students. I would like to ask you a question. In today's economic era, the hearts and minds of our Tibetan people, both young and old, are being increasingly eroded. This is especially true among the younger generation, who often have different attitudes. When I was a child back in those days, we had a deep respect for our elders, and it was always considered important to show proper manners. For example, when riding a horse and encountering an elder, we would immediately dismount. We would let the elder ride the horse while we walked on foot ourselves. In daily life, we never told lies and were very cautious about such matters. This is how our people used to be. We especially showed great respect to our parents and teachers. But society has changed a lot nowadays. Whether it's university students, farmers, or herders, we can hardly see the virtues of respecting the elderly and caring for the young anymore. Noble behavior has also vanished. May I ask, what is the cause of this? Do you have any practical or effective methods that could assist in correcting these kinds of negative attitudes and behaviors?
This issue is indeed very real at present. Now, many young Tibetans have undergone significant and noticeable changes in their character. As for the reasons, on one hand, it is closely related to education. On the other hand, it is also connected to their beliefs. Take the Han region as an example. In the past, there were countless virtues and good deeds that were widely praised. Respect for elders and care for the young, once central to Confucianism, is now giving way to egalitarianism. Many people, under the banner of equality, claim that elders and juniors and teachers and students should be equal. Respect for teachers is instead seen as a sign of backwardness, and Tibetan region have inevitably been affected by that. This situation is indeed worrying, of course. This phenomenon is also closely related to the lingering effects of the Cultural Revolution. People once believed that ancient traditions were the ruling class used traditions to oppress workers, leading people to deeply resent and want to eliminate these old customs, leaving nothing behind, rooting it all out entirely. This mindset has also increasingly taken root in the hearts of the younger generation of Tibetans. As a result, they lack faith in the three jewels, are not filial to their elders, and feel no shame or guilt in committing wrongdoing, among other things. So how can we change this situation? I think, first of all, the direction of education is crucial. As teachers, you should use traditional Tibetan culture to appropriately and thoughtfully support and guide students in their lives. As monastics, we should also provide this kind of education to those connected to the Sangha. At the same time, we should also go to other places and widely promote traditional Tibetan culture among the farming and herding communities, as well as life maxims, Buddhist teachings, and more. If we persevere and stay consistent, many hearts will gradually change, developing faith, compassion, and kindness. In this way, Tibetans will become true Tibetans and endure in the world for a long time. Otherwise, the environment's influence is very strong. Usually, weaker ethnic groups are absorbed by stronger ones. This is an unstoppable trend worldwide. If we do not value our own ethnic culture, in the end, our traditions will be lost, and no compassion will remain in our hearts. This is not just a tragedy for Tibetans, but for all humanity. If we want to change this fate, for me, it's like a Buddhist metaphor says, like a mother who has lost both her arms, watching helplessly as her only child is swept away by the river, yet being powerless to do anything about it. Seeing Tibetan culture gradually decline, although I am clearly aware this is wrong, I still can't find any effective measure that can truly turn the tide. As before, the mother with severed arms is anxious but helpless to save her drowning child. In the same way, due to various internal and external circumstances, it is now almost impossible to suddenly change people's character. One could say it's as hard as climbing to the sky. But we must not give up. Instead, we should do all we can. As monastics, we can still face hardships and difficulties. We travel to various places to promote Tibetan culture, even organizing literacy campaigns for this purpose. As lay teachers and students, you have an even greater responsibility to do the same. As fellow Tibetans, we share the same bloodline. Therefore, the future of the Tibetan people is something everyone should keep in their hearts and do what they can to help. Even if you have only a dozen students, you should still do everything possible to guide them in a positive direction. It is extremely important to help them change their bad habits.
On behalf of everyone present here, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Khenpo. My question is about Buddhism. Many wise people from Tibetan region, Han regions and abroad all have different views. Some say it is materialist, some say it is idealist, some say it is theistic, while others say it is atheistic. So, in your opinion, Among these four views, which one does Buddhism actually belong to and why?
From the ultimate perspective, no matter whether one considers Buddhism to be theistic, atheistic, materialist, or idealist, none of these can be completely established. The great scholar Chandrakirti once said, "Your analysis of conventional reality is also unreasonable. How can what you conceptualize ever be established?" In the ultimate sense, the world of sentient beings and their environment, which is encompassed by samsara and nirvana, all phenomena are devoid of inherent existence. Thus, it does not belong to any particular school, and it transcends all assertions. As Bodhisattva Nagarjuna said, "Because I make no assertions, I am free from faults." The most ultimate view of the Mahayana does not fall into any extreme. Buddhism does not belong to any of these four categories. However, from a provisional standpoint, according to the different capacities of sentient beings, different levels of teachings are established. And each of these has certain similarities with the four aforementioned views. For example, the realist school asserts the existence of truly existent phenomena, which can be considered a form of materialism. The Yogacara school holds that all phenomena are created by the mind, which can be seen as a form of idealism. On the ultimate level, all deities and mantras do not exist, which can be called atheism. On the conventional level, all deities and mantras are real and unfailing, which can also be called theism. These viewpoints do not contradict each other. Therefore, the four views you mentioned above do share certain similarities with Buddhism, but they cannot fully encompass Buddhism. From this, we can also understand that the wisdom of Buddhism is able to encompass all forms of knowledge.
I am currently a teacher here at this school, proudly serving as an educator.
First of all, I would like to sincerely thank you for the lecture you have given today. In our Tibetan region, many people among the general public believe in Buddhism. There are also a large number of rituals in this regard, most of which focus on practices related to Dharma protectors, yidams, and so on. Of course, engaging in these practices is also a form of Buddhist activity. But in your view, are these truly Buddhism?
That is an excellent question from this teacher. From the perspective of traditional Tibetan culture, most people have thought that Buddhism is simply about reciting scriptures, praying for blessings, and performing Buddhist rituals, etc. This is also a custom that has been left behind by a long history. However, reciting scriptures and praying for blessings through rituals is only part of Buddhism, not its essence. The true Dharma, as Master Vasubandhu said, the wondrous Dharma of the Buddha has two kinds, the Dharma of teaching and the Dharma of realization. Those who uphold the Dharma of teaching lecture on scriptures, those who uphold the Dharma of realization practice. Among these, specifically when we are talking about the written words, the Tripitaka scriptures are called the Dharma of teaching, when faith, bodhicitta, and so on arise in one's mind. The merits of the three trainings are called the Dharma of realization. By relying on listening, contemplation, and practice, one realizes the true state of the Dharma. This is called upholding the Dharma of realization. When we recite rituals in our daily practice and make offerings to and practice for the Dharma protectors and yidams, we cannot say that this is not Buddhism, but we also cannot say that Buddhism is limited to just this. True Buddhism requires understanding the qualities of the Buddha and giving rise to a rational faith in the Dharma. Taking refuge as an example, at the very least, one must understand the merits and the methods of taking refuge. If you are cultivating bodhicitta, you must also be well versed in the merits and the theory of bodhicitta. Among you teachers and students, some of you also often recite sutras. This is in fact a very good habit. However, if reciting sutras is only for feeling at ease or for things to go smoothly, that is not enough. One must also understand meditation methods and the principles of preliminaries, main practice, and concluding practices. Most importantly, take refuge in the Buddha from your heart and develop rational faith in this. Therefore, studying and practicing the authentic Dharma is the core of Buddhism. Today, many Han region devotees visit temples to burn incense and worship the Buddha. However, without understanding Buddhist principles, their study remains superficial, and it is hard to grasp the Dharma's essence. To truly study Buddhism, one must understand its teachings. This is indispensable for both monastics and lay people. Otherwise, these are merely isolated Buddhist acts and cannot be called the authentic Dharma. In recent years, we have continuously called on laymen and laywomen, as well as monastics from all regions. It is essential to study and practice the authentic Dharma. After all, the meaning of Buddhism is quite profound. Without systematic study, it is impossible to truly understand it easily. Even for worldly knowledge, one must progress step by step through elementary, middle, and high school, spending over 10 years learning from textbooks. Since Buddhist teachings are even more profound and vast, how could one understand them without study? Therefore, everyone must study systematically. Only in this way will you truly come to understand what Buddhism really is all about.
I am very grateful to you for coming all the way to Qinghai Normal University. Despite the hardships, you have shared with us the values of Buddhist culture, and I am truly deeply appreciative. The content of your lecture today mainly focused on the current situation, value, and characteristics of Tibetan culture. And you also taught us how to protect it, especially discussing the values of Buddhism. All of these are worth deep reflection for everyone. Among them, you mentioned that Buddhism is a science of the mind. May I ask, what is the relationship between Buddhism and science in the future development of society? Which will be more important, science or Buddhism?
Buddhism is now referred to as an inner science. For example, the famous psychologist Carl Jung, after many years of studying psychology, came into contact with the Tibetan Buddhist text, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and found that it was of great help to his own mind. As a result, he concluded that Buddhism is a science of the mind, and gave it extremely high praise. Similarly, the scientist Einstein also believed that if there were a religion capable of meeting the needs of modern science, and able to coexist and be interdependent with science, it would have to be Buddhism. Buddhism, or the Dharma, is what the Buddha realized after seeing the true nature of all phenomena, and then chose to teach and spread. The Dharma has 10 meanings. As stated in ancient texts, the Dharma refers to what is known nirvana and states of mind. Merit, longevity, scriptures, future destinies, and established rules. But in Buddhism, the Dharma refers to the essence of the Buddha's teachings. Just as the Buddhist scriptures say, do not commit any evil, practice all that is good, purify your own mind, this is the teaching of all Buddhas. In other words, it advocates refraining from evil deeds and practicing virtuous actions. This is the true intention of Buddhism. Modern science, when it comes to external material phenomena, can be said to have made many observations. However, when it comes to the inner world, it is at a complete loss. It can only helplessly linger outside the door. In contrast, Buddhist teachings reveal the truth of this aspect in great detail. Therefore, the renowned academician Zhu Qingxi believes that Buddhism is truly a science of the mind. So-called science, in addition to social sciences and natural sciences, also includes a field called cognitive science, or the science of the mind. In my view, as long as humanity exists in the world and seeks continuous development, the science of the mind is absolutely essential and truly indispensable in our understanding. This internal science and external development can only complement each other and will never become an obstacle to it. If there is no science of the mind, as material life continues to improve, people's inner worlds will only become increasingly empty and hollow. Just like many wealthy people around the world today, even though they possess hundreds of millions in assets, they feel no happiness at all and are always crushed by the weight of suffering, unable to breathe. This shows that no matter how abundant external material wealth is, it can never bring inner peace and happiness. As Tibetans, we basically all believe in the existence of past and future lives. We also have many ways to work with the mind to overcome suffering. For these people, if there is no happiness in this life, all progress and development become meaningless. Currently, in some places in Han region, some people believe in Buddhism, while others do not. But for those without any faith, life often lacks a sense of belonging. As society develops, inner desires only grow stronger and stronger. If you have one house, you want another. If you have one car, you want another one too. They spend their whole lives, day after day, as slaves to money, never truly experiencing freedom or peace of mind. Many of these phenomena, which are seen all around us in society, are truly heartbreaking and difficult to witness. So, for these people, I think the science of the mind is especially important.
I am a 2011 graduate student from Qinghai Normal University. Nowadays, Tibetan Lamas who go to Han Chinese cities are called Han Lamas. Among them, some truly continue the wisdom and life of the Buddha, benefiting countless disciples with the Dharma. But there are also some individuals who, in fact, have no real or genuine spiritual attainment at all. They simply rely on fortune-telling and divination to amass wealth for themselves. Some even go so far as to misuse the names of eminent monks and great masters. They go around collecting money everywhere they can, ultimately making themselves extremely wealthy. From the perspective of Buddhist doctrine, is this kind of behavior justifiable? How should we respond to this phenomenon? You just mentioned that Buddhism is a very rare and precious culture, but nowadays there is a significant gap between the teachings of Buddhism and the community of believers. This is truly regrettable. Personally, I hope that when the conditions are right in the future, I can establish some organizations. Although we may not be able to teach profound Buddhist doctrines to the general public, at the very least, we can help them develop correct views and understanding. After all, whether it is religion or politics in any nation, they are all fundamentally based on the people. if Buddhism is to be, in order for it to be widely accepted, actively supported and promoted by the community. Achieving this goal will require strong support as well as active participation from the public. In this regard, I would like to ask for your thoughts and opinions.
As for myself, I should be considered one of the earliest Han Lamas. In 1987, when His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche went to Mount Wutai, there had never been a Han Lama seen in the Han region before. So when we went to some shopping malls, the sales clerks would stop selling things as soon as they saw us. They would gather around us, pointing and whispering as if they'd discovered some alien creature. Of course, that's not the case anymore. As you mentioned, among the Han Lamas, some are truly great monks and virtuous teachers. They travel to many cities, not for financial gain, but entirely to benefit people through the Dharma, guiding many to take refuge in Buddhism. They plant the seeds of liberation for them and establish a path of non-violence and peace. They have brought happiness in this life and the next to countless people and animals. But there are also some who, under the guise of Buddhism and temples, wear robes and go to the Han regions, engaging in all sorts of appalling and outrageous behavior. However, it's very difficult for us to definitively say who is genuine and who is not. For example, in some Han Lama temples, the buildings are quite impressive. However, the architecture of the temple is not what's most important. But in the face of such economic waves, it's also impossible to manage without funding. So to oppose all of this across the board is also very difficult. Looking back at history throughout the ages, we can see before and after the Venerable Atisha came to Tibetan region, many people from India also came here. Some came in order to swindle gold, but there were also those who came to spread the Dharma. Therefore, we shouldn't be quick to judge good or bad from the outset. Instead, we should carefully observe, discarding the false and keeping the true, extracting the essence from the dross. Nowadays, the Dharma, as precious as a wish-fulfilling jewel, is truly priceless. But there is indeed a great gap between it and the minds of ordinary worldly people. However, this problem is also very difficult to solve in a short period of time. In the future, it would be best to establish some organizations or groups in various places. Starting with basic literacy, gradually let everyone learn some simple teachings, as well as foundational Buddhist knowledge such as taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. In this way, over time, more and more people will come to recognize the excellence of Buddhism. In addition, teachers and students in schools should also improve their own level of Buddhist studies. Otherwise, if one's Buddhist understanding is too shallow, one will not be able to truly savor the richness of Tibetan culture at all. At the same time, in our major colleges and universities, we should also consider establishing and setting up some dedicated Buddhist research institutes, as well as various other related organizations and associations. And, through carefully organized and structured examinations, study texts such as the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment and the Words of My Perfect Teacher, as well as other sutras and treatises, in order to improve one's own level of Buddhist studies. If we can do this, gradually changing the fate of the Tibetan people in the future will not be a difficult task at all. In the past, we Tibetans lacked a tradition of widely spreading the teachings of Buddhism among the general public. However, in recent years, many lamas have traveled to various places to spread the Dharma and benefit sentient beings, and the results nowadays are quite remarkable. Even some farmers and herders who are illiterate all understand the three supreme methods and practice Vajrasattva meditation. Among the groups in modern society who genuinely practice Buddhist meditation, there are also many farmers and herders. After acquiring knowledge, they meditate on the words of My Perfect Teacher, as well as many other Dharma methods as their main practice. Some of them have even surpassed the average university student in their level of understanding. If everyone can study and practice Buddhism together in this way, this is the most important action among all actions. As long as we keep making continuous efforts in this regard, I believe the gap between Buddhism and people's hearts will gradually narrow. The future of humanity will also become even better.
You just mentioned that learning Tibetan culture and studying Buddhism should be carried out simultaneously. For a student, because we've heard teachers say that the primary field for accumulating merit especially should be one's own parents. So for us as students, is there a better or more detailed way to accumulate merit in a school environment like this? What is the necessity of accumulating merit while studying knowledge?
As students, first and foremost, acquiring knowledge is crucial. Then on this basis, if you can also do good deeds and accumulate merit, that is a very wise choice. Those who lacked merit in their previous lives will find that nothing goes smoothly or easily for them in this life, and their luck is also very poor. So, as the ancient texts say, diligence as great as a mountain king is not as good as accumulating even a little merit. Only by diligently accumulating virtue and merit can you achieve twice the result with half the effort in anything you do. Otherwise, simply relying on hard work and effort does not necessarily mean your wishes will come true. It's just like some students taking exams. If they lack merit, no matter how good their grades are in daily studies, they still might not pass the exam. So accumulating merit is extremely important. The Buddha also said, those who possess merit will have all their wishes fulfilled. For you students, if you work to accumulate great merit, then even if you are not especially diligent or do not always study the hardest, your academic achievements will come more easily to you. At the same time, by relying on the power of the merit you have built up, the wisdom that exists within your mind will naturally begin to unfold. Generally speaking, with the fruits of merit from past lives combined with diligent study in this life, your future will be very bright, shining with hope and filled with many wonderful possibilities. In the same way, by relying on such positive causes and supportive conditions, not only will your earlier years and later years in this life be blessed, but all of your future lifetimes will also be filled with true happiness and lasting joy. Therefore, it is crucial to consistently maintain such a kind heart, as well as to practice virtuous deeds like making offerings above and giving below, and to carry them out in accordance with proper principles and methods. This is extremely important. Please keep it firmly in mind.
Next, I am very honored to introduce Khenpo. Khenpo Sodargye is from Luhuo, Ganzi, Sichuan. He was born on the 4th day of the 6th month of the Tibetan calendar in 1962. Khenpo possesses wisdom as blazing as fire in his continuum. With great compassion, he protects all sentient beings, especially for those pitiful and helpless beings. He has never abandoned them from beginning to end. In 1985, he renounced lay life and became a monk, going to Larung Gar 5 Sciences Buddhist Academy. He took His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche as his root guru. Later, he became a great Khenpo at the academy. In 1987, he accompanied His Holiness on a pilgrimage to the sacred site of Mount Wutai. From then on, he began to guide the fourfold assembly of disciples in Han regions. From 1990 to 1999, he traveled to Bhutan, India, Nepal, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, the United States, Canada, France, Germany, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and other countries to spread the Dharma. Since 2006, he has used modern methods such as the internet and DVDs to teach the Dharma. This has made it convenient for a vast number of devotees to systematically study Buddhism, allowing the Dharma rain to fall everywhere and benefit all those with a connection. From 2007 to 2008, he initiated the Start with Compassion campaign. He encouraged Buddhists to contribute their love and compassion and led by example himself. He successively established the Wisdom and Compassion School, the Novice Monk School, nursing homes, lay Buddhist centers, and more. Khenpo tirelessly teaches by day and translates by night. Over 100 Dharma texts have already been published. Finally, on behalf of all the teachers and students, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Khenpo.
Nanduni Mendes, Nada Party Jason.